Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up everyone? Alan Jouban here.
So Alan had a lot of things going on. He's a very busy man. So we couldn't get together in person today, but we wanted to make sure we got one out this week. And basically we'll do kind of a shorter hit it and quit it on some of the fights we're looking forward to at 224. But Alan, I know you were working on your truck is all coming together, isn't it?
I picked up my wheels finally, Karyn. Yes, so Lexani is sponsoring me on the build. I went and picked them up in Corona, drove back, got them after the gym. So I was all over the place, training at Black House, picking them up at Corona, coming back home.
Right.
But I got them, and UFC is actually following me around tomorrow, filming me. We're going to go take a sneak peek of the truck, so I wanted to have the wheels on it at least. Even though the truck's not finished,
right.
Have the wheels, kind of a little surprise for everyone. So I'm looking forward to it.
That is very cool. And just so people know, you did start basically training again kind of last week, right? The foot got better, and so you went back to full training last week, right?
Yeah, got cleared about a week ago, back into training. I'm actually in talks with Sean Shelby right now about trying to lock down a fight. Ideally, as I said before, I believe either the fights in Vegas or the Staples Center August 4th in LA would be ideal. I know everybody in UFC is trying to jump on these cards, though, so it's a little bit tough. But he's throwing a few names out there. I didn't love some of the locations he's throwing me at, so we're going to see what we can do. But I'm being a little picky at the moment. Good.
Well, you should. You had a real good win last time. You should have a, don't jump into things. Because we've seen people who say yes to some things just because they either need the money or whatever, and it doesn't always work out for them.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I'll tell you, he asked if I wanted to jump on the Germany card, which is end of July,
right?
I think. And I was just like, man, why? There's two fights in Vegas before that, and the weekend after Germany, it's in LA where I live. Why would I fly all the way to Germany and leave my family? So I'm like, look, you give me anybody you want to give me. Take them out of Germany, put them in LA, and I'll sign the contracts. We're kind of working on that at the moment.
Cool. Well, I hope it all works out. I think the August show would be great. Right in our backyard. But listen, obviously the fights this weekend are going down in Brazil. UFC 224. The headliner is Amanda Nunes versus Raquel Pennington. And some people, I guess there's not as much heat on this one. Co-main event, Jacare and Kelvin. I'm actually very excited about this. I know a lot of us are very excited about Amanda and Rocky. Some fans not so much. So I guess you guys, if you want to comment on why you are or aren't. I guess for me, the thing that I realize is the hardest selling point in this is that Rocky's been out of business, for a while. She hasn't had a fight since she fought Misha. And that was the fight that ended up basically retiring Misha. If you guys remember, she hung up the gloves after that fight. But that was all the way in 2016. So then Raquel has had a couple of things go wrong. She had I believe it was a shoulder surgery, a wrist surgery, and then she got in an accident on her ATV. So out in Colorado. So she basically said that she kind of smashed her calf. She broke her fibia, like bad stuff, really, really bad stuff. So it's been a long time since we've seen her. So I understand why maybe people aren't feeling that buzz because, it's nice when a fighter has that momentum. They just came off of something and now they're challenging. But Raquel's been doing really well, and to beat Misha, the former champ, in her last out, and it was a very dominant win. I think Rocky's ready for this. That said, I think it's an uphill battle, but I think she's actually going to give Amanda a good fight.
You said it, uphill battle, fighting the champ, the current champ who's been currently active a lot. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Brazil in her backyard. So it's definitely an uphill battle. But I didn't know that. I'm glad you shared that with us because I was wondering. I was trying to remember when was Raquel Pennington's last outing. I was there at the New York card, and I remember that was the last time I remember seeing her fight, and she looked phenomenal. She looked really good. Although I will say H.E.A.T did not look good in that outing, so you have to kind of balance it that way. But on her end, she went in the cage that night. She did her job. She looked phenomenal. But as you said, when you have that much time in between, the momentum, you lose the momentum. Just as if you're a ranked fighter and you're not active, you drop in the rankings. So she does get a title shot now. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I would say it would be tough for Pennington to be not an underdog in this fight, not a heavy underdog in this fight. With the momentum going into this fight that Amanda has, and being off for nearly 2 years, you said, Raquel Pennington, she's going to be an underdog, I would imagine, going forward.
Yeah, and Amanda, to be honest, Amanda's last fight was last September when she fought Shevchenko for the second time. So it's not like, it's not like Amanda just fought either, but that's better for her, I think, in a way, like if she had any injuries or anything like that, to be healing up.
Yeah.
And, obviously they both have been very active in their gyms. One thing that is also an advantage for Rocky, she does train in Colorado, so she does have high altitude training. And, she and her partner, Tecia Torres, Tecia left American Top Team a while ago and she moved to Colorado. And Rocky's been kind of working as her coach. So, it's funny because, Alan, I think we were talking about this on UFC Now, and it's something that I talk about a lot with people who have done analyst work and stuff. Like, if you start coaching other people, if you start doing analyst work, you actually, even if you're maybe not actively fighting, you're studying the game, and it really can help you when you actually are going back to fight for yourself. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
It's a fair assessment, and when you're teaching, you're definitely questioning, why am I teaching this? Why am I doing this? Because that's the questions you're going to get from your students. You show them exactly what you want, and they ask why or what happens if this. So you always have to think about what
you're like, because some other dude told me to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just because my master taught me. It's because this is the reason that we're doing this.
Right.
So those questions come up a lot. So yes, stepping back, you do realize, you know what? Teaching does make you much more knowledgeable, a smarter fighter, have a higher fighter IQ. The downside to being a coach is you don't get to be as selfish, put all the time that you want. Where a lot of fighters, they want to train twice a day, and in between, they want to recover, relax, study fight footage, eat healthy, whatever it is they need to do to get them peaked for the next session that day. But if you're coaching somebody else, a lot of your energy and time is going into that person. You're sometimes, especially when, let's just say we're getting reps in wrestling, for instance. This morning for wrestling, we're working single legs, okay? So I go one on the right side, one on the left side, switch. He goes one on the right side, one on the left side, switch. And continue so on and so on, so we're getting equal reps. If you're playing the coach to the fighter, sometimes you're letting the fighter get all the reps, and you're just kind of being the dummy right there to give him a good body. Hopefully, Raquel Pennington hasn't been being the coach, the body dummy for too long, where she's still staying not only sharp, but progressing in her game. Because being out for that long, the women's division is probably the fastest rising division as far as evolving in the sport.
Yeah, it's definitely an uphill battle for her. And, Rocky is a tough woman, but I guess when you think about, sometimes you're like, oh, well, what is she great at? She's great at weathering the storm a lot of time. You know what I mean? And she does have a decent jab. It's just that when you think of Amanda, you think of her as being so much more of an overpowering fighter who is fearless, and she's just so powerful. So I feel like it's probably going to be Ant still. But you just never know what's going to happen with it. But I'm excited to see Rocky back in action. And I always love watching Amanda. I think she's awesome.
We could witness another shock the world moment as they did in Australia with Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey a couple of years ago. Who knows? But yeah, I'd have to agree with you. It's an uphill battle, and my money on this fight would be on Amanda Nunes.
So the one that in this, there's a few fights on this card actually that I'm like, I don't know. In the co-main event, Jacare versus Kelvin Gastelum, and Kelvin, obviously, long story short, everybody knows he used to fight at 170. He had some trouble making the weight. He was basically forced up to 85. Though he's saying, and the other day, Wade went to lunch, so MMA Heat has the whole media lunch with Kelvin and also with Mackenzie, who we'll get to in a second. But if you go to MMAheat.com, you'll see the whole Kelvin lunch, and you can see it here on the YouTube channel as well. But, Kelvin, I guess, has said he still doesn't think he's necessarily done with 170. I don't know. He's been so successful at 85. He is smaller, and, he came to UFC tonight after that luncheon, and we were talking to him, and I was talking right to him and saying, yeah, I feel like, the fact that you're small is a good thing. I don't mean that in a negative way, but that gives him that speed advantage, so he is able to really get in there with some of the bigger middleweights. That said, like, how big do you think Jacare is going to be on fight night? That's like, Jacare is a very intimidating man. I know him. He's quite friendly, but when it comes to staring down that man across the octagon in Brazil, again, I feel uphill battle for Kelvin in a way too, even though he's been on a good run. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one, Karyn, because here's the thing. You said it, okay. Kelvin is an undersized middleweight going into this, but on the other side, it gives him the speed advantage. It gives him the speed advantage. And he's looked tremendous in his last couple of outings at middleweight. He's had fast hands, power in his hands, and power carried over to the 85. And he's had good footwork. His footwork, his speed, his hand speed, and all that has carried over, transitioned very well for him as a middleweight. The thing that I didn't like was when he fought Chris Weidman, that the undersized middleweight show, but not only that, but Kelvin's built like a truck, like a fire hydrant on top, but his legs seem to be a little bit smaller at middleweight. And so Chris Weidman, every time Chris Weidman was locking up with him up top, it was a bit of a battle. Then every time Chris Weidman changed levels and went down to the legs, he got Kelvin down pretty easily right away. So that's where I see Jacare having the big advantage here. Kelvin does have a wrestling background and a jiu-jitsu background as well. So he can be tough to take down, especially being the faster man with the footwork. Jacare knows how to take people down. He's not just a one-sided, one martial art type jiu-jitsu guy. He's a guy that knows how to get you to the ground and then stay on you once he gets you there. I feel like if him and Kelvin lock up, he'll find a way to trip Kelvin or get to the feet and be able to take him down and put him away. With that said, though, the middle, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden, the Australian middleweight champion.
Robert Whittaker.
Whittaker, thank you. Whittaker was able to evade Jacare and put the hurt on him. So, and Whittaker is a fellow welterweight who went up to 85, a smaller man with the speed advantage, and he had that advantage going into the battle against Jacare. So, I'm kind of torn. Like, when I break it down, does the faster, quicker man win, as time has shown that it's proven against Jacare that he had trouble with guys like that? Or does the better grappler win, like what Chris Weidman did against Kelvin did? And I'm thinking that Jacare might do the same thing. But if I had to put money on it, I'm kind of feeling like Jacare, the same as you, in Brazil, the better grappler. He'll get that advantage in the grappling department. Yeah,
it's funny because I still haven't, officially decided, because the other thing is in that fight, if I'm not mistaken, the Jacare Whittaker fight was when Jacare was injured. And so that, I believe, was when he had the torn bicep or pectoral or something. And so he wasn't really himself. And now, he never said anything about it before or whatever the fight. That was something that came out after. So if I'm not mistaken, Robert Whittaker did not fight 100% healthy Jacare. If I'm mistaking this and thinking of another one, I apologize. But that said, Robert Whittaker is the champion of Robert Whittaker. He's an incredible fighter. But when we saw what Jacare did against Derek Brunson, he head kicked him. Jacare's hands have gotten better. The thing about it is at this point, you sort of have to decide, where do you go with Jacare, right? Because he knocked out Derek Brunson twice, once with a punch and once with, the head kick and then followed up. But his hands are getting better. He's a powerful guy. But if you go to the ground with him, it's Jacare. You know what I mean? Where do you go? And about the whole ground game stuff, I talked to Verdum. He said, he's been drilling like crazy with Kelvin, and Kelvin's improved so much. And if you're going to fight Jacare, you should basically either train with Damian or Fabricio in terms of equivalently good, but I love Kelvin. He's such a good dude. I feel like if he pulls it off, it'd be amazing. And I feel like the odds are actually very close on this one. I just don't know yet. I got to wait to make my pick. I don't know.
Yeah. It is a tough one. The thing, again, that makes me lean towards Jacare is because the thing, like you mentioned, he's coming off of a knockout on the feet, knockout win. And that's what makes him so tough, is because when he comes forward, he throws all his power into his striking. So you're forced to either jump back, putting your back against the cage, accessible for a takedown, or you have to cover up, which leaves the level change available. So he's not a guy that you can kind of just move around and try to slip his punches, because he's very loopy but very powerful and aggressive with his striking. So when he strikes, you have to react to it, and the reaction usually costs you a takedown. Yeah,
it's going to be a great one. Before that, Mackenzie Dern is fighting Amanda Bobby Cooper. This one I feel a lot more confident in. I feel like Mackenzie will get the submission. Amanda Bobby Cooper was a finalist on The Ultimate Fighter. She has a boxing background, so this is a good test for Mackenzie, because her stand-up game is obviously something that's still very much on the developing side. Amanda Bobby Cooper was a boxing, started in boxing and won some championships there. And on The Ultimate Fighter, though, she was submitted by Tatiana Suarez. In the UFC, she also got submitted by Cynthia Calvillo. but she has won fights, and her last fight was a win over Angela Magana. So ABC has skills, and she's able to do a lot in there. But, it's going to be a question of just Mackenzie maybe weathering the storm, throwing enough things for herself to get that opening to shoot and get that submission. Is that how you see it? I would imagine pretty much.
Basically, yes. Yeah. Basically, you are the much more knowledgeable person on these two, because I didn't get to watch that season that Cooper was on. So I've only seen her fight. I think it was maybe when she fought Cynthia Calvillo. Yeah. Is that a pay-per-view card that she jumped on, or was that?
Yeah, I think it was.
Pay-per-view card. So I think I just saw that one. But Cynthia is a girl that just came on the scene and was just blowing through girls right away. Yeah. So it was kind of hard to gauge people. But being more familiar with Mackenzie Dern, knowing her background, and knowing, like you told me already, that Cooper is susceptible to getting submitted. Now you're going against a very, very high-level girl, Mackenzie Dern, when it comes to submissions. But we saw in her last fight, Mackenzie Dern, she had to go to the distance. She went to the judges in her last fight. She wasn't able to submit her last opponent. So even though she's had so much tremendous success on the jiu-jitsu mats, it's a different game in MMA when people aren't giving that respect factor. Because in jiu-jitsu, like, if you get taken down, then they kind of surrender to the takedown and they grab you. But in MMA, it's like we're squirming like a dog right there and just punching you in the face. It's a different world. So sometimes it opens up more submissions. Yeah. Sometimes it shuts down more submissions. But at the end of the day, I got to go with the higher level, more well-known Mackenzie Dern and the victory in this one.
All right. And then the one that I feel like is making me so mental is Lyoto Machida versus Vitor Belfort, right? Like, so I'm a huge Lyoto Machida fan. I think he's a fantastic guy. I love how he carries himself. I know you've gotten to train with him at Black House. Like, he's just a classy guy. Sweetheart, friendly man, and obviously an incredible fighter. And he had that win over Eric Anders. He had that long layoff for the weird thing with the test that he admitted to, and then it didn't even show up, and yada, yada, yada. Lyoto had to take a long time off. He lost to Derek Brunson when he came back, but then he beat Eric Anders. Meanwhile, Vitor, had gone on a series of losses, but he beat Nate Marquardt in his last fight out, and Vitor keeps saying, retirement fight is my last one, it's my last one. So I don't even know if it is or isn't at this point. I tried to stop asking if it's his last fight. I believe the odds have Lyoto as a slight favorite. I don't think it's a huge line, but that's kind of how I see it. We know with Vitor, it's kind of the same story, right? If you can get past those first initial minutes where he's very violent and destructive, if you can get past that, then you're okay. I do, worry that Lyoto can't take the damage that he used to earlier in his career. So I don't know on this one. I just don't know. And it's crazy. It's two Brazilian legends fighting in Brazil. Like, I'm curious who the crowd will be going for. This whole fight to me is very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, you said it, two Brazilian legends. Didn't Vitor want the Legends League? Didn't he want the older fighters to fight one another? Yeah. Right. So I guess he's getting his wish in a way, but I would have to lean towards the numbers and say that I would think Lyoto would get the edge in this one, because Vitor comes on very strong and aggressive. Yeah. Not that most of the people that he fights are flat-footed in any way, but he likes to catch you standing still, and he likes to be very aggressive, and that's where he usually gasses out if he doesn't get the finish. As we all know, Lyoto Machida, one of the most elusive fighters in the octagon, especially for middleweight. Very good footwork, very elusive, very hard to catch or to put against the cage. He's got super sniper-like footwork and counters. So I would imagine that if Vitor does try to blitz him and rush him, Lyoto would be too slick to get out of there. And then once the fight does start slowing down, I think Lyoto will start kind of picking him apart with the shots and everything. But again, this is, if I believe I'm right, two southpaws.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, yeah.
Two guys that aren't as strong, as fast, and they're a little bit more chinny than they have been in their entire career. So it's really up in the air, Karyn. I think when you break it down on paper, I would lean towards Lyoto. Right. But we're trying to see what guy do we get. How are these guys going to look? I just want to see them kind of during the workouts as well. What do their body looks like? As we all know, Vitor's body has fluctuated tremendously over the years, but I'd be curious to see, like, how does his body look right now? Does it look like a pretty fit Vitor that's very clean and all that? or has time been taking a toll? So I kind of feel like it's when you go to the Kentucky Derby or something, and you see the horses walking.
Yeah.
I want to see their body types and how well they're moving at the open workouts. I'll probably make my final decision.
All right, well, that makes sense. Yeah, and I'll be working this weekend. It's me, Tyron, and Dominic. So we'll have the weigh-in show on Friday. It's a good time for people to know that the prelims and our pre-fights are actually on FX next Saturday. Okay. So if you're looking at the FS1 schedule going, what's up? They're actually going to be on FX for that. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like this week, the workouts and the stare downs and stuff like that will also give us a little bit of information on their mindset and the whole thing. I know you got to get out of here in a minute. One thing I want to let people know, I did this real fun interview with Nick Hein, who is a German fighter. Like, if you're a newer MMA fan, maybe you don't know who he is because he had some injuries and he's been out of action for a little while. If you do know who he is, then you know he's a real good fighter. And the last time we saw him, he was actually on a 3 or 4 fight win streak, but then just had some injuries that he had to deal with. So he's coming back, talking about your Germany card. He's a German dude going all the way to Brazil, but he actually has been living here in LA and everything now, training with our friend Antony Hardonk, the former UFC heavyweight, who is recorded, I believe, to have the most strong kicks in the UFC. But Nick is a great guy, so we went and interviewed him over with Antony, and we shot some of them training together, so that's very cool. I also mentioned, we have the Kelvin lunch and Mackenzie, so you guys should look for that. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I'm curious, and I'm, just because we're a little abbreviated, we didn't have time to get to everything, but like John Lineker's fighting, like I love him. He just squares up and just, like that dude is a rock'em sock'em robot. I love him. Yeah,
that's another good one. What's the guy who's fighting? Kelleher?
Yeah, Brian Kelleher, I believe.
I think Brian Kelleher fought on the same card I did in Orlando, if I'm not wrong. If it's the same guy I'm thinking of, I was impressed by him. Yeah. I didn't really know him that much. I didn't know a lot about him. I haven't seen a lot of his fights, but then I watched him fight, and he looked tremendous. He looked very well-rounded. He's going against the John Lineker, the heavy-hitting John Lineker. So I hope he's in shape because John throws bombs, and you just have to be on your toes the entire fight, doing the right things not to get caught against him. He's like a Mike Perry guy. When you fight a guy like that, you have to be in tremendous shape, make sure your footwork's on point, because if you slip at any moment, they'll catch you. That could be lights out. Mm-hmm.
And then also your buddy Sean Strickland, right? You train with him sometimes. He's fighting.
Yeah. Sean's on the card. Worley Alves, one of my old fights on the card. It's kind of it could be a sleeper of a card, and I'm hoping that it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, listen, folks can find me on YouTube at Karyn Bryant. If you're there and you're watching this, you should hit the subscribe button because we have a lot of good stuff. And on Twitter, Karyn Bryant. On Facebook, you should look for MMA Heat and MMA Heat on all MMAHeat.com. Instagram, I'm KB Heat. So where can they find you, Alan?
At Alan Jouban across all social media. And then if you want to follow my YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Alan Jouban.
Cool. And I feel like we did a UFC now for this weekend, didn't we? Or is that a week that I missed? I think we did one for this weekend. I think so.
The UFC now?
Yeah. I think we highlighted this because I feel like we were talking about Amanda and Rocky. Yeah, I think we did. So anyway, people should look there. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. There was a week I was out and I didn't.
Either way, it's a good show, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. And obviously, you can find, not obviously, because maybe you didn't know, but if you go to MMA.audio, you can also find the audio downloads for all of our shows. So, it's worth a listen.
All the ways, guys. All the ways to listen.
All right, Alan.
Hope you enjoyed it.
See you later.